Picture Perfect is the 7th episode of Sabrina the Animated Series, and I think this is one that probably a lot of young people can relate to. It's about the pressure that the previous generations place on you. Now, I'll be honest, I never had this pressure. I don't come from a particularly academic family, which I think is the reason why I am academic, but I know a lot of people I grew up with, some of my close friends, had parents who had been high achievers, and that pressure was then placed on them. And this is what Sabrina is facing, because it's time to vote for the Student of the Year. And we learn that Sabrina's mother and her grandmother, all of whom were called Sabrina, were all elected or voted for Student of the Year. Interesting that they were all called Sabrina. That is definitely a difference between this and the live-action TV show. And there are some other similarities and differences in here that I thought were pretty interesting, which I will talk about in a moment. But that narrative, I think, is really important because there are a lot of children or teenagers or young adults who feel the pressure of the success of the generations before them and feel like they have to follow in their parents' or grandparents' footsteps rather than paving their own way. And Sabrina's obviously very anxious about possibly not being voted, and there's this desire to use magic to try and make sure she wins. Whether or not she does the right thing, I won't say, but obviously her greatest competition is Gem. And it looks like Gem is a very strong contender for winning. And I liked it. I like the fact that they are awarding somebody based on academic achievement and athletic ability, but also it is a popularity contest at the end of the day because the students get to vote as well, which I feel like is a little bit unfair because that does just turn into a popularity contest. But I was curious to see what would happen. I felt it was quite predictable. It didn't go the way I was expecting, but Sabrina did learn some important lessons, so I really liked it. We also get to meet Chloe. I'm pretty sure this is the first time we meet Chloe, her best friend, who is very different to the likes of Jenny and Valerie. I couldn't really remember the character very well from when I was younger, and I was wondering if she'd be a kind of carbon copy of those, but actually she's quite different. And a very likable character. We also meet Pi, brilliant character, of course, and her mother. And her mother looks exactly like what I was expecting. She looks a lot like she does in the live action, or at least in animated form. But again, she's called Sabrina, so a bit different. But I like that fact that she was, still in an archaeological dig. It made it a little bit similar to the live action show in that way. I liked it. Hilda and Zelda were great. They made each other wear different outfits, including Hilda wearing something rather entertaining. So I enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was good fun. It's got some really important messages that young people, maybe even older people, will be able to relate to, introduced to some new characters. Definitely a really strong episode.